Okay, do we want to just get on the book?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, let's just go into it. I don't need to cut and start over.
Yeah, you're the one editing it.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. And it'll be fun to listen to shit anyways.
You guys are shitty.
I fucking hate us.
Oh my god.
Speaking of children's books.
I have books over there. Some of them are for children. Guys, we're in my apartment.
Dobby, Harry Potter.
Dobby,
they're making
he
a new
lives
Harry.
understairs.
They're making a new Harry Potter film.
Yay!
Books.
Good.
Wait.
On that note, they're making more Hunger Games films too.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope they're all prequels.
They are.
Oh,
No. They want to do
Wait. I haven't quite finished my thought. I hope they're all prequels, and I hope they surround the people who designed the Hunger Games, and it's all just like a political drama of just being like, you can't put that fire jet there. It's like, why not? You don't have the proper paperwork. I'll get the proper paperwork, and then people fall in love.
It sounds
people
like
fall out of love.
okay. You're no. He's doing the Star Wars prequels.
What are you talking about? No, I'm not actually. I actually was thinking about like that. The Office way of, well, kind of, but like, you know, the Office way of filming with like the zooms and stuff and just like
I immediately thought you were going for the Star Wars
pseudo
prequels.
documentary style, and it's like you want to build a Hunger Games, and then there's like people who are like having trouble with the ethics of it, being like, we're killing our children, and then someone's like, but we have to, but we haven't had to for decades, and then it's like secretly. Yeah,
and they're like toying with the idea. Then the revolt happens, and then everyone's like, it's like their 9/11.
Yeah,
everything changes.
You know what always the Hunger Games always makes me think of? Did you guys ever read The Lottery in school?
Yeah. Yeah.
10 points?
10 points.
10 points?
You win 10
10
points.
points.
You win 10 points.
Shouldn't have clapped, but I nailed it.
Can we have just a sticker board where you get like points? And
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing a point system.
Yeah,
like I was thinking about it as we were talking, and they're not gonna mean anything.
No,
I'm
can
just
it be
gonna
star stickers?
No, I'm doing a point system, and we all have to come up with our own Hogwarts houses.
Okay.
Yeah. So
by the end of this podcast?
No, not by the end of this
Bird
podcast.
Priest.
You're bird priest?
I'm bird priest.
I'm gonna come up with something.
It's not as like nice and like fantasy based as the Harry Potter houses, but
yeah,
I like it.
I don't. Do I have? I'm just gonna award points, and I'm gonna have to try and figure out. Remember what? I mean, yours is easy because it's like it's something you use a lot.
Sloth
Bird priest. Yeah.
What?
Sloth Talon.
No, you have a little more time to rethink that
one. Yeah. Mine's just my internet handle, so it's fine. Now that we've successfully ruined my segue,
let's talk about children's books.
Well, not children's books.
But like
books read as children.
Well, books that were not even like books that you read, but books that are important to you when you were a kid, like how they were important in certain ways too.
How did they make you who you are today?
I've got a couple, but what do you guys?
Mine are mostly series.
Yeah, mine too.
Oh yeah, no,
what's
except for. Okay, the most important one to me is The Hobbit.
Okay.
Yeah. Only because, like, I loved The Hobbit story as a kid, but I was young enough to not be able to read it myself. My father read me the entire Hobbit story.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to me.
I have a friend who, like, his father read him the entire Lord of the Rings, and he became, like, a Lord of the Rings... Well, not fanatic so much, because I feel like Lord of the Rings fanatics are, like, a certain level. Like, it's like Stephen Colbert level sort of thing.
Yeah.
But he was the go-to for, like, Lord of the Rings trivia.
Yeah.
He would be like, hey, what's this mean?
But
it
came from his father.
It came from...
him.
I don't have that. Like, I cannot think of what's my parents read to me and then what kind of became like really important to me.
Yeah.
I remember my grandparents bought me the Harry Potter books, which was like the first series that I read through by myself entirely.
Yeah, and I think my father read me the first 3 Harry Potter books.
Yeah.
And then I went back and read them myself.
Yeah, they were fun. Like they were really good. I liked growing. Like we were at that age where like we grew up with them, and as we were like, I want more serious content. She actually changed the series.
Getting a little more serious.
I was like, this really works well. Like, really works well for like aging up with your demographics. Sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My friend's grandmother got me my first Harry Potter
really?
book. Yeah. Well, I mean, I came from a very small town, so it was my friend's grandmother, but she still got me Christmas presents all the time. This was like, I say my friend, but it was like my best friend as a kid.
Dude, Zack's sitting right there.
I didn't start hanging out with Zack until I was like 15.
Oh.
I didn't even know Zack.
He's breaking my heart.
Couple of rapscallions at 15.
Listen, I got nothing to say.
Okay, cool. No, the Harry Potter series was really important to me because I like read it by myself.
Yeah.
I was interacting with it in a way where I hadn't quite interacted with what I was reading. I was very much like, oh, this is so cool. Like Hogwarts is great. Like going to certain classes, which ones would I choose along with the characters, sort of thing.
Well, we literally grew up with the Harry Potter kids, right?
Yeah.
Like I think when I first, I think I was like 8 and they were 11. So we didn't grow up exactly with them.
I think I'm their age. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, maybe
I
a
don't
little
know.
younger.
They were born in like 87, were they not?
No.
Or like the
No.
events of the book happens in 87.
No,
Well, I don't mean like lining up timelines.
Oh,
I
no, he
mean
means
like
your age
the book
alongside theirs.
came out
Yeah.
this year and I was this age this year.
Oh, I thought you were
Okay.
talking about the actors. I was thinking about the actors.
No,
for some reason.
characters.
I think
No, I
because I'm
think
like,
you are the same age as most of the actors.
Yeah, I
Because
think
they're
so.
11.
They started 11,
started 11.
which was such a great idea. Like,
Yeah.
was like, it's kind of like a no-brainer, but when you think about it, you're like, this is incredible that they thought like every single year, except for like 7 or whatever, or maybe I might be wrong too. There might have been delays with certain things, but like they were roughly the same age and they looked the same age and they were
Yeah.
like interacting all the time. So like, yeah, they
grew
get
up
really,
together.
and like say what you want about certain versions of the film, like how they're directed and stuff. Consistently, they get really good at like interacting off one
Yeah.
another, and
Oh,
that
yes.
was genius. Like,
Yeah.
Well, because those kids also grew up together.
They
Yeah.
literally rebuilt them into real life. Ron,
Yeah.
Hermione, the
And
Golden Trio.
and I think like as I was thinking about it earlier, because I'm rewatching the movies, I'm like, I think they only recast Dumbledore. He's the only person I think got recast.
Yeah, and that's 'cause he died.
That's because Michael Gambon had to take over for what is his name?
Cinematic
Zack's
Legends.
gonna
I'm
find
gonna-
out.
I'm gonna find out.
Christopher. But like, yeah, he was the only one who had to be recast, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, one of like Crabbe and Goyle kind of disappeared. I think.
I think they got recast a couple times, but it was one of those like, it doesn't really matter.
The first Dumbledore was Richard Harris.
Richard Harris.
Richard
yes.
Harris.
Which was interesting because when Richard Harris came on, when Richard Harris passed away and Michael Gamble took over.
Gambon.
Gambon? Yeah.
Yeah.
Took over. It was when the third one, which is completely differently directed, because Chris Columbus left. Alfonso, oh my God, I'm gonna butcher his name. Cuarón.
Quran, I want to say Quran, but that's just
no.
that's just wrong.
I,
That's the religious
you know what?
text.
The film guy should probably figure out how to say his name.
You
But
don't need to know how to pronounce
yeah,
people's
you just kind of say these movies that this guy did.
Alfonso Q.
But, big old C, big AC.
Oh yeah, and it's not even spelled. It's not even. With
I got
a Q.
that over you. He
got
came
a lot
on
over me.
and he directed the third one, which feels a lot different than the rest of them.
Yeah.
And it's like it was almost like it worked, sort of thing. It was so yeah.
Yeah.
No, Harry Potter was important to me. What about
Yeah.
you, Zach?
Well, Harry Potter was important to me. I actually have a confession to make. I, for the longest time, never finished the Philosopher's Stone because my brother got me into it. We had books 1, 2, 3, 4, and I was just like Harry Potter. Bleh. I was reading other books. I was reading.
Who cares?
I was reading.
I
Lord
don't
of
need
the,
no wizard.
I was reading like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit at the time, and then my brother was reading Harry Potter in his bed one day, and we shared a bedroom, and he was reading it to me, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is amazing!" So I picked up Harry Potter, but Philosopher's Stone was boring to me. He was reading.
I can see that.
He was
Yeah.
reading near the end of Chamber of Secrets. And like that's when the stakes are high, and I was just like, I want to get to killer snakes, and just kind of put the book down and threw it away, and then got to Chamber of Secrets, and then only until like I reread Harry Potter in like my first year of university did I actually finish Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, I had that with The Hobbit when everyone was like, no, I did try to read The Hobbit when I was younger, but it never really sunk in with me. Like I read it and I was like, okay, that's fine, but
Yeah.
it was like. Everyone else was like, oh no, this is crazy. For the longest time, did you guys ever do that where like you'd read a name, but it's like a name you don't ever come across that is like so you just kind of read it over, and in your mind it's this, but it's something completely different. Bilbo was Biblo to me for the longest time, because I just like, I wasn't really paying attention, because I don't really read names. I just go, all right, these
set of characteristics.
No,
These
are the characters that these are the letters that mean this character sort of thing. So that was what I did.
I get that, but I also just have an issue remembering names in fiction and real life.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll be reading and I'll see a name and I'll be like, I remember that name. I don't really remember who that's supposed to be though.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to mention the very famous example of Hermione 1.
No, Hermione.
Hermione 1. That's not a famous example. I've never heard that.
No, I'm not
And
actually.
if I haven't heard of it, it's
not
not
true.
famous or true. Could be true.
I think I started calling her Harriet when I first read it. I'm like, that's not a real name. Her name's Harriet now.
I
think I just went for like the classic Hermione.
I had my parents tell me what it was,
Yeah.
and luckily my parents knew what it was. I guess like
What does this mean?
what is this?
Hello, tell me this.
What is this?
Yeah. But before Harry Potter, I was reading Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, which are way heavier, and it wasn't because I was just like cool in reading these. I was really into the game not World of Warcraft, that wasn't out yet. Warcraft 1, Orcs and Humans. My dad introduced it to me, and I was like, holy crap, swords, sorcery, orcs. There's books about this, about like the same concept, and I just devoured all of the Tolkien stuff when I was very young.
Mm-hmm.
When I was young, and even to this day, books as thick as Lord of the Rings intimidated me. So I was just like, Lord of the Rings, that's too big. That's a big boy book. I'm not reading that.
I'm the opposite actually, because like I have not read Dostoevsky, but every time I'm at work and I'm like stalking Dostoevsky, I look at it and I'm gonna destroy you one day. One day I'm gonna pick you up. When I have time, I'm gonna pick you up, and I'm not gonna drop this book until I'm done. So I'm different. Like I see everything as challenges. That being said, I sometimes just go, I cannot deal with this. Like I have way too many books to read. I have so many books to read.
Hey,
and
sorry. When you have time, want to start a 2-man book club for Ulysses?
oh my god, no! I tried to do Ulysses.
I was almost offended. I was like, what the hell? I want to be a part of
I
your
know
book
you
club,
don't want to
but
be
then,
that.
But then you said Ulysses, and I was like, oh, okay.
No, Blair was
never
just
mind.
talking about big books being a challenge.
You know,
I'm like, Ulysses is a challenge. I'm gonna read it, and one of these days, I'm gonna like it and not want to set James Joyce on fire.
You're gonna read Ulysses like 15 times by the time you're dead, and you're not gonna like it once.
Yeah, but it's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna be this ridiculous Ulysses academic. I'm gonna know Ulysses inside and out, unlike any other. And I'm just gonna like take my hatred of this book that I built my life around.
You're gonna start
to the
teaching a
grave.
class called "Why You Should Hate Ulysses."
And it's gonna be this like hatred but begrudging respect towards James Joyce at the same time, because you don't spend this much time studying a text and just not respecting it.
You end the semester just by getting everybody together and setting the book on fire.
No, I will stop that. One thing I will never have is book burnings,
Yeah.
no matter how crappy the book is.
On that note, I never read Fahrenheit 451 in high school.
I didn't either. I waited till I read it last year. Actually, I started doing classics last
sorry,
year.
I've never read it. Period. But I was never made to read it. Like, what age do you normally read it? It was like grade 10.
I think with that, I think it's one of those things where I had a lot of stuff where it's like you have to read this or this, and I always got the or usually. Like everyone else was reading King Lear, I was stuck with. No, I wasn't stuck with. I think we did Macbeth when we were doing King Lear, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so happy.
I never got King Lear in high school either.
I haven't read King Lear.
I got Merchant of Venice though.
Oh, I haven't read that
I
either.
love Merchant of Venice. But no, in grade 10, instead of Fahrenheit 451, I was reading To Kill a Mockingbird, which was awesome.
I didn't think I think everyone had to read To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, really?
And yeah. This was when the edition we had was that, like, you know, that purple hardcover that's like smaller.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I look at the new covers and like the trades and stuff and like the whatever. I'm like, god, these versions look feel so much better in my hands. But I didn't mind To Kill a Mockingbird.
I liked it a lot.
When I was in grade 7, my older brother had me write his book report on Fahrenheit 451.
That's great. That's so cool.
And I didn't do good. I was 12.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, he passed.
I did that with Andromeda Strain. Like with Andromeda Strain, we had to read Andromeda Strain in grade 10 or something, and I just could
Books
not.
did they make you read in grade 10?
I had to read a lot of books, but
didn't
I
make me read
read
anything.
I read a ton of books, but
Like
not
one
the
book a
school
year.
books. I didn't never read the school books because I'm like, this is stupid. Like I got part way into
understood
Andromeda Strain, and I'm like, I don't like you, Michael Crichton. I don't. And so when we had the quiz, I made up what my version of Andromeda Strain would be, and I mixed in some of like Stephen King's The Stand, because that's all like it starts like very like the apocalypse is very almost done with like chemicals and like viruses and stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna move in a little bit of Stephen King and start making up my version. And when they're like, here's a question that has nothing to do with what you just said, Blair, I'd rechange what the story was. It was great.
I did the exact same thing in 11th grade, I think, with the chrysalids. I hated the chrysalids, even though everybody else loved it. And by definition, I should have loved it, but I didn't.
I never read it.
So I think I read like the first 2 chapters, was like, fuck this book, I hate it. And then started making up my own story every time we had to do quizzes on it. Mixed with kind of skimming Cole's notes.
Yeah.
And I kind of turned it into my own dystopian future of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
You know what else I did that with?
because I read chrysalids, immediately went to chrysalis.
Yeah.
And
You know what else I did? And this is, I actually will to my dying day defend that I was in my rights within doing this, is I read, before I actually read the book in English, I read the first of the Icewind Dale trilogy in French.
I don't know what that
It's
is.
Scenario Salvatore fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I read the first one. I can't even remember the first Icewind Dale, the name to the first one, but I read it in French because I was in French immersion.
Right.
I had no idea what was going on, and like I think I figured out that there was some, because that has to do with like Crescenabon, like the evil crystal sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so I figured out like, oh, so it's about a crystal. And I just started making stuff up about like red crystal magic and green crystal magic. And I just kept going. And my teacher's, who's not going to read this fantasy novel and had no idea what it was like, okay. And then fast forward, high school, I read the Icewind Dale trilogy. I close it one day. I look at the cover and I go, oh no.
I was so wrong.
Oh no.
I like to imagine your teacher having that exact same moment. Like he's just old and retired. And he just puts the book down. He's like, that son of a bitch, Blair Slater. Oh man.
But sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of fantasy novels, I mean, I'm sure we all read fantasy novels when we were kids. I'm going to go way back. I think I was in 3rd grade. The first fantasy series I started reading, Deltora Quest.
Never read it.
No, I never read it.
So, I haven't read it in ages because it was one of those like pre-teen fantasy novels.
Yeah.
That was like made for people that were also reading Goosebumps, basically. Like,
Yeah.
super easy to read, super easy to follow. Like, it was ridiculous. And it was about gathering crystals to stop this shadowy figure who's taken over the kingdom. And I engrossed myself in it. I wish I could remember it. I want to go back and read it. It would take like a day to get through the entire 8 books probably at this point. But it was like, at one point my life was engrossed in the series, and I think it's what turned me onto fantasy as a whole.
Yep.
Which was fantastic.
I feel like, and I've noticed this a lot because, well, I mean, working in a bookstore, you see how much genre stuff is out for teens and younger guys, like preteens. And I'm like, if only I had this when I was a kid, because there's so much selection.
There's so much more now.
There's so much selection.
Almost
there's
the
so
easiest thing to aim towards, like preteens and stuff.
Exactly. And it's not like, I mean, there's the stuff that's very much like, oh, this is just a trend sort of thing, so they're trying to cash in on it. And then there are the guys who are writing really, like, from what I understand, really good stuff. I mean, that being said, I haven't like ventured into teen fantasy all that much ever.
I was
really
all about teen fantasy when I was a kid.
Well, but
reading,
like now,
Keys to
sort
the
of thing.
Kingdom.
Oh man.
You remember Keys to the Kingdom? all
The Garth
the-
Nix ones?
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
I
the
was
main
just about to
villains were
bring up-
named after the days of the week.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this up because I want to talk about a major influence of my
All right,
of mine as I
talk
was a
about
kid.
Garth Nix.
Because Garth
Stevie
Nix.
Nicks?
So
Stevie
a thing
Nicks.
I did as a kid because I just wanted to keep reading good books, and I had this thing where I had to finish a book, and like I wouldn't put a book down no matter how much I disliked it. So I was very particular about reading good books. So I would find an author and I would just go through their entire discography.
Bibliography.
Nope, discography. They're
They're
musicians
books
now.
on books on discs.
Yep.
Zach lived
I
in
would
a
just listen to
different
the
timeline.
audiobooks. But one of them who I just devoured was Garth Nix in the Case of the Kingdom that you brought up, which was so cool.
It was very cool.
And he did not guide you by the hand at all. He wrote kids books, definitely. Case of the Kingdom is like a kid adventure. I think the main character is 12 or something like
in
that.
the first novel, and
Yeah.
by the end of it, I think he's 15 tops.
Yeah.
With a lame leg,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
which is amazing.
Nice.
And then I think one of them he spends the entire book in bed, drifting through the sea.
Yeah.
That's Wednesday.
That's
I think.
Wednesday. Yeah. But yeah, and he just did not guide you by the hand. He had this wonky ass world.
Oh, it was nuts.
It was
insane.
It was a house, I think. Was the world like straight up a massive, massive, massive house?
No, so the center of the universe, or the center of the dimension, was a house.
Yeah,
And like each master of each day was given a part of the house.
and then the house obviously was its own. Each part of the house was obviously its own world. So
Yeah,
Monday
it was
had
like
this.
it was like a multi-dimensional pocket thing. Think the TARDIS, I guess,
Yeah.
if that's the best way
it was bigger on the inside.
It was bigger.
It was-
everywhere
yeah.
it wanted to be.
So like Monday had this really cool kind of like.
Okay, right on.
Penises.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Monday had this really cool, like medieval, maybe Victorian
garden,
area
didn't he?
clockwork world with a lot
was-
of Victorian
yeah.
gardens and a lot of Gothic architecture. And the keys, the MacGuffins for those books were these hands of a clock.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
hour hand and the minute hand, and when you put them together, they created
Turned
a
into a
sword
sword.
that could
Yeah.
alter reality.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and then
Nice.
like that's what the entire book was, and then like the kid had to come like find the MacGuffins for each day of the week, and then stop the corruption of that person because they were going crazy or something like that.
One of them had a steam train too, didn't they?
Yeah,
Thursday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Tuesday ran a coal mine.
Nice.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Nice.
It was such an interesting world,
his
but
MacGuffins were gauntlets.
it was for like 12 to 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
And you're like, why are you writing these like amazing, ridiculous, not overcomplicated, but kind of convoluted worlds?
Well, like the
Wait, for 14-year-olds? Because you got to introduce 14-year-olds to that sort of
Well,
stuff,
like
so they can
convolution.
so they can find crazy stuff in it, so they can like
Yeah.
have their imagination still be like
it was very,
invested
very
in it.
imaginative.
So
it was
Yeah,
it was
nuts.
crazy go nuts, and well, like there's this concept of this thing called nothing, which was basically the matter of that world. Everything was made of nothing.
It was like dark matter.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So like you could manipulate
As well as we
nothing
can,
into anything.
we can understand dark matter.
Yeah. So it was just really cool, and it didn't tell you like what nothing was. It was just like, oh, there's a pool of nothing, and I'm like, cool, an empty pool. And then I kept reading, and I'm like, wait, no, nothing is something. Oh God, my head. I'm 12, and I'm like flipping through it, and by the first book, by the end of it, I felt like I knew what was going on, and then by the second one, I completely got punched in the gut and was told I was wrong, and then I finally figured out what I was doing. A character in the second book is literally a mutated eyebrow.
interesting. I think we.
Really?
I, think,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, Suit. He was.
I really hoped you were going to say his real name was Su. Like, that
No,
would've been great.
don't name him because that's not going to help me.
It's not going to help.
It's been too.
You know what?
He
We should
was
do
literally
that
a
as
mutated
our,
eyelash.
We should do that as our book report. We should do book reports. Today I read Superman Returns, the novelization.
Holy shit!
the junior
Holy
novelization.
shit!
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and then Garth Nix came up with his other big series that I really liked, which was the Dark Tower series.
Seventh Tower.
Seventh Tower series.
Yeah, not
Dark
Dark
Tower
Tower.
is Stephen King.
What's a Stephen King?
I think I read the first of the
Seventh
seven.
Tower was
I think
way
I read the
bigger than
first one.
Keys to the Kingdom.
Seventh
wasn't
Tower
it?
was bigger. It was a lot
Yeah.
easier to understand than Keys to the Kingdom. It was a lot more straightforward and kind of like very high fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Still really cool world.
I never read it. I should have.
Yeah,
I think it's too late now.
It just Garth Nix was really good at being weird and imaginative, and that really kickstarted my own desire to write and create these crazy worlds and stuff. Yeah.
One of the books I read that kind of like, I wouldn't say like kicked me into kind of adulthood, but like kind of was like, oh, by the way, you may be this age, but remember, things are bigger than just school and stuff.
Yeah.
Was The Outsiders. Because
Yeah.
my story for The Outsiders, I received it as a birthday present, and like one of my friends who I was kind of like, when you're at that age, you're kind of like getting into middle school and you're starting to drift apart from people, and then like coming to your birthday are people that like you still had coming, and then but like you weren't gonna see
But
in the next
you're
year.
not friends
You're
with
just-
your entire
you're
class
just-
kind of thing.
Well,
Yeah.
it was like someone I knew from like former years of my life, and you're
okay.
reaching that point where you're just kind of fading away from people.
Right, right.
Well, he was one of these guys that like I didn't really see after that birthday party. But he came in and he's like, "Oh, here's a book that was really like important. I really liked it when I read it." And me being at the age where I'm like, I want video games and stuff, was like very skeptical about it.
Why did you give me a book?
Because I mean, I was still reading, but I was also like, I had built I'd been very independent about what I was choosing to read at that point, and became very. I think that's when my aversion to like book clubs and stuff had started. Like, and I still do it now. Like, if something's got like an Oprah sticker, I put it right back down. Even if like some incredible person be like, you have to read this. I'm like, it's got an Oprah sticker. I'm not going to read it. Like, but he gave it to me and I was very skeptical. And then I read it and I was like, wow, like this is insane.
That was
Because
some
like,
heavy stuff.
it's very much about like, oh, here's friendship sort of thing. At a point when like I was at that age where the definition of friendship was changing. I was seeing a lot of
Very,
my
very
friends
important.
try and be like the cool guys sort of thing. So
yeah.
they kind of like cast me and my other friend aside, which meant like he and I got to be like really close from it. And like I didn't really want to do the rat race of coolness. Like, not that I would fit in really, but it was like, and everyone's going to be like, oh no, you just couldn't do it. No, I didn't want to actually put in the effort sort of thing. So my definition of friendship was changing a little bit. And so there was that. And then it's like, oh, by the way, some of these characters straight up die, like straight up die. And it was really interesting to read, and it's something that I kept reading as I grew older. And it's not like one of those things where I'd be like, let me recite to you these lines from The Outsiders, except for like Stay Gold, Pony Boy, which is like, even in cultural lexicon, it's just, it's like,
past
it's
just
like
a line from The Outside.
yeah, it's like, it's standard. It's like, we're going to need a bigger boat at this point. sort of thing.
What's that from?
That's from,
Free Willy?
Free Willy.
I think?
Yeah.
Cool.
The fishing channel. that's how they sign off all their shows. We're gonna
Deadliest
need a
Catch,
bigger
right?
boat. Give us money.
It's from Food Network. They're talking about gravy boats.
No. Catch Me If You Can. It's the fish one, not the international
not
jet setter.
Yeah.
Love that
Not
movie,
the
by the way.
Spielberg film.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it.
I got it lent to me by my math teacher in high school. He's like, here, take this, and I'm like, all right. And then I watched it. I was like, yeah.
Great score.
Oh yeah, the score is great.
Oh, good.
The kind of Saul Bass-esque credits are really good too. Yeah, but no, Outsiders was really, really important to me, and then I saw the movie, and I'm like, oh man, this is like really sweet, and a lot of people in that were
Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is in that,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Very young.
Very young Tom Cruise.
And who else?
John Ralphio.
I thought I saw.
Not John
Lost My
Ralphio.
Phone.
Ralph
What did I
Macchio. Jesus.
John Ralphio. John Ralphio is from Parks and Rec.
That would be amazing, though. Just replace all of them. Because he was Johnny, too. Just have John Ralphio be Johnny in the Outsiders movie. Holy crap, what a change of character.
Hey, Pony Boy.
I love where you're going with that, but I need you to lend me a lot of money if we're gonna do this.
Gone with the Wind and a lot of money.
Instead of, I got run over by a Lexus. A steel beam fell on my back.
I'm totally a hero.
I I'm at that point where
Okay,
I'm
go
like,
save some orphans.
I'm at that point where I'm like, can I say things about this book? Because like I don't want to say things about it because I feel like it's at that point in like culture where it's like either you've read it or you haven't, but people still should. Like it's not like oh, by the way, Darth Vader is
Ever. By the
Darth Vader is Luke
Don't
Skywalker's
say-
father.
But no, S.E. Hinton in general, back to me reading everyone's bibliography when I found an author. I liked.
Discography. I'm sorry, you messed that up.
Sorry, I thought it was...
Filmography?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I wanted to say it.
You go ahead.
No.
Okay.
I imagine when you said discography, it's like a 1980s movie where you put a big old like laser disc and then like a triangle of light projects the screen, the words on a screen.
That would be amazing.
I think that happens in Dune.
I haven't seen Dune, and I need to see Dune.
No, you don't.
I need to see Dune.
Sorry, you don't.
Let's watch Dune
Jodorowsky
together.
directed it, right?
Yes.
Don't make me cry. Speaking way earlier about films that, like, I need to finish films, I couldn't finish Dune.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I loved the novel.
Yeah.
I love Dune.
Have you read the second one?
Not yet.
I should. Oh, I got rid
haven't.
of the second one.
I have.
Oh, you have it. Okay.
I have all three now.
Oh, sweet.
Remember the one you lent me,
Yeah.
Blair? Blair lent me.
Yeah.
Dune. I gave it back to you.
Oh, Eva taped that back. Actually, taped that back together.
No, I taped it back together before
well,
I gave it back to you.
It came apart again. So
I bought the exact same copy of it because I got 2 and 3 that had the exact same cover that yours had, not the exact same, but like the same edition. So I just replaced the one that you lent me with this.
Nice.
With the same one.
nice.
It looks nice on my bookshelf.
It's pretty sweet.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
I like it. It's great art.
Yeah.
But anyways, I didn't read that when I was a kid. I read that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But just quickly back to S.E. Hinton. She was so good at capturing just that weird anxiety of being a younger teenager, just that preteen to teenage moment. Mm-hmm. Just The Outsiders just is completely all about that. Like you said, it's just transition of friendship. But one that really stuck with me because I grew up in a small town was Tex. I don't know if you ever read that.
Never read it. No.
And it was just so good. It was about the younger brother of the superstar athlete, and they live in a small town, so everyone knows his older brother, and he's just trying to find his own place, which is what makes Ponyboy such a good character too, because Ponyboy doesn't have... He like has an identity, but he's trying to figure it out. He's at that transitional phase where you're trying to figure out what it is that you're all about, and then...
Yeah, like if Ponyboy wasn't the main character, you'd be like, "What the hell?" Like,
Yeah.
this character has no characteristics.
Exactly,
If you
exactly.
weren't in his head the entire time,
Yeah.
sort of thing, you'd be like, "Oh, so Ponyboy just walks in, walks out again," and Derry's like, "Ponyboy, you're messy," and then Ponyboy's like, "I guess I'm messy." Like,
Yeah.
like he'd be one of those characters that drove you insane if it wasn't like these
Exactly.
eyes you were seeing the world through.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why a lot of the main characters in novels like that are like that.
Yeah,
Are very...
it's like you
insert
are the
yourself.
everyman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes them so easy to relate to.
But it's
Yeah.
but it's one of those things that you have to do properly. Right?
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
of course.
and I think S.E. Hinton does that really well.
Which-
She builds the teenage world around you so well. Like in Text, he deals with so many small town problems and weird things that just I went through growing up. My older brother was the big athlete too, so it was just interesting to see the main character's reactions to it, and it kind of worked as a guideline for myself. I was just like, oh, okay, he dealt with it. He got through these crazy trying times.
How to,
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think S.E. Hinton was great for that. I read some really weird stuff growing up because I was just because that was just what we had, and I was like, "Mom, let's go buy books." And she's like, "We just spent $100 on books over the last 2 months. Stop me, please."
Oh, me and my trips. Every time I went to my grandparents' house,
Oh, yeah.
I forced my parents to take me to Chapters.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I would walk away with 5 books. I'd walk out of the I'd wander for an hour, much to my brother's chagrin, who like hated reading, but
that
he was
how that
dragged
word's
with it.
pronounced?
Chagrin?
Chagrin?
Yeah, I believe.
I thought it was
believe.
chagrin.
No, chagrin.
But that sounds dumb.
That's how I pronounce it, so that's how you
Chagrin.
know it's wrong.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then so I'd leave the stacks after an hour with like 5 to 7 books,
Oh, my-
and my parents be like, "Make it 3," being like, "We can't make it 1, or else we'll be like, you can't read, but we
Yeah.
also cannot. We're not gonna buy you 7 books." Sort of
That's
thing.
Yeah.
You just described my experience to the T, and my mom was just like, "We can't afford all these books, but how do you tell your kid no because they want to read?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that I should have gotten in on earlier is libraries. It's
Yeah.
like it's now the way I live is libraries, and
Yeah.
I've always got something coming in and something going out, sort of thing.
Well, to this day, I still buy books over going to the library because that's just what I did growing up. Because I liked having my book collection.
You just like to own
I like
things,
owning.
though.
I like owning things.
So do I.
But back to the weird things I read when my parents were just like, no bookstore.
Yeah,
I read Red Dragon when I was about 10.
that's so cool.
You've told me this story many times.
I thought it was about a red dragon. And I wanted to read more dragon stuff.
Did you finish it?
Oh, yeah. And I was just traumatized. Cannibals are still kind of one of my biggest fears
Nice.
in the world. I was so afraid that I was going to develop a taste for human flesh when I was a kid.
Just
And
because you read Red Dragon.
my siblings and my cousins were just like, would always be like, Zach, that's human you just ate. And I'm like, no!
Oh,
And
man.
I'm just like, I can taste the fingers and like all this
I can
like
taste the-
all this
was that
hor-
when you were eating chicken fingers?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
no,
it's
that's
like-
not
yeah,
chicken fingers.
exactly.
Zach.
Yeah, and they were just we would. I had this horrifying experience. It was like shortly after I read Red Dragon. I read it at my family cottage up north in Perry Sound.
Oh, yeah.
and we would go catch frogs at this cottage, and I saw this massive frog chasing this tiny frog, and it just scooped it up in its mouth and just swallowed the motherfucker.
Welcome to
whole.
life.
And I was just done. I read Red Dragon. I saw nature at its most fucked up, and I just did not know how to process
That's a
that.
great anecdote. I love it. It's so good.
And in that day, I was 10 on the outside, but I was like 50 on the inside. I was a man that day.
Life will find a way.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, man. So cannibals.
Oh man.
Cannibals.
I had a book I read a lot where it was like, I read a book. I hated sharks, so naturally, I bought a book. I bought a novel about hunting a giant shark.
Nice.
And then it was also like when I was in like starting puberty, and there were sex scenes in it. So I was like, this book is so great.
Boomers.
Because it was like here is everything that you want to feel. Like here's like base stuff like fear and sex.
Yeah, I
and
was gonna
stuff
say
like
that must have been an emotional trip for
Yeah,
you.
I think I read it like 3 times. I think I threw it out pretty quickly after though.
Shall we wrap this up?
Yeah. Do you wanna hit us with the chime out?
The old little thing.
Because I can't remember it. I mean, I know what it kind of sounds like.
Yeah.
You can say it.
Oh. I don't think
We didn't make you listen to us. You chose to listen to us.
Hey, that's it.